Mangwanani Mwalalepo Vukenjani Kwekwa Savannah Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Diana Master and Ashwin Betty, the first show of the month. How are you, Diana?
I'm doing well, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, looking wonderful in red.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
In favor of Arsenal.
Yeah, of course. That's how that works. You change teams overnight.
I mean, it's why I'm wearing red. But anyway, let's get into what you can expect, excuse me, in today's broadcast. Food rations for refugees in Burundi to be halved. This is according to the UN agency. Equatorial Guinea suspends 300 vessels for illegal flag use. Trump indicted first US president to face criminal charges. Also going to be crossing on over to Zimbabwe to speak to Talent Gore, and Ari Hochad will give us the latest in the sports world. Stick around, top stories coming up right after this.
Today is Monday, the 3rd of April. Let's head into our top stories. Food aid rations for refugees in Burundi, mostly Congolese fleeing violence in eastern DR Congo, will be halved from the 1st of April, which is Saturday. Now, this was according to the World Food Programme announced last week, Thursday, citing a lack of funding. More than 56,000 Congolese refugees will soon receive only half of the food rations they need, the UN agency said in a statement. Now, according to the UN Refugees Agency, UNHCR, the landlocked African country in the Great Lakes region is currently hosting some 85,000 refugees and asylum seekers. The majority of the refugees come from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, which is in the grip of a rebellion in the east of the country. The WFP said that up to now it has given each refugee cash or food equivalent to $0.55 to cover a daily caloric requirement of 2,100 kilocalories. The WFP is facing funding shortfalls and soaring food prices, partly due to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Now in Bangladesh, the WFP has already reduced food rations for the Rohingya refugees. Earlier this month, the agency warned that it requires more than double the money raised in Yemen last year to reinstate full food rations for millions in need.
Equatorial Guinea suspends 300 vessels for illegal flag use. Equatorial Guinea has suspended more than 300 fishing vessels for fraudulently flying its flag. Vice President Teodoro Nguema Obiang has said. He said of the 368 vessels fishing under the Equatorial Guinean flag, only 20 were registered with the Ministry of Transport and the International Maritime Organization. The rest have been suspended for fraud. The next step is to put in place control and contract acquisition policies for the legal use of our flag, he posted on Twitter on Thursday. This is not the first time the country has taken action against vessels illegally flying its flag. In April 2022, Equatorial Guinea suspended 395 vessels for illegally sailing under its flag. It followed the sinking of Zelo, a fishing vessel in Tunisian territorial waters. The vessel allegedly flying the Equatorial Guinea flag sank under suspicious circumstances, prompting the country to file a criminal lawsuit against its owners. Mr. Obiang Mangwe subsequently sought international assistance and urged other countries to report vessels illegally flying the Equatorial Guinea flag.
Now, New York grand jury on Thursday indicted Donald Trump over hush money payments made to a porn star during his 2016 campaign, making him the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges. The historic indictment of the 76-year-old Republican who denies all wrongdoing in connection with the payments made ahead of the election that sent him to the White House is certain to upend the current presidential race in which Trump hopes to regain office. Trump's lawyer Susan Neschels told AFP she expects he will be arraigned on Tuesday next week. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office confirmed that it had contacted Trump's lawyers on Thursday evening to coordinate his surrender in New York, with the felony charges against him to be revealed at that point. Surrendering for arraignment over what CNN has reported could be as many as 30 counts related to business fraud, would normally involve being fingerprinted and photographed, potentially even handcuffed. Now, in the Republican camp, Trump's allies and sons denounced what they say is a vendetta aimed at derailing his 2024 campaign.
Rebels in eastern DRC still hold strategic positions. The withdrawal of M23 rebels is now going to take place on Friday, according to the commander of the EAC force. From Friday, Ugandan soldiers from the East African Regional Force will enter Bunagana and deploy to Kiwanja, and this is part of the schedule that has been decided. We have agreed that their first mission is to ensure the security of our population, and we ask all humanitarian organizations to be able to deploy in all areas to help this population, said General Jeff Nyaga, EAC Regional Force Commander. Since June last year, the town of Bunagana, a commercial crossroads on the Ugandan border, has been under rebel control. Customs are still closed and famine is getting much worse. Nothing works like it used to here. It's good that these Ugandan soldiers are coming in, but we would like the Congolese government and the M23 to hold talks so that a solution can be found, said Jean Muhire, a resident in Bunagana. March 30th was supposed to mark the end of the withdrawal of all armed groups, according to a timetable adopted in mid-February by the EAC. The M23 has announced its withdrawal from certain localities, but these announcements have been described as a diversion by the Congolese army.
Now, moving over to Tanzania, the High Court has declared unconstitutional laws that allow members of parliament and councillors who won elections unopposed to represent citizens. In the 42-page judgment, judges John Mgeta, Benaj Masood and Edwin Kakolaki said the laws unfairly restricted citizens from exercising their constitutional right to elect representatives by casting votes. Now, the decision follows a constitution petition filed in 2021 by the Deputy Secretary General of the Opposition, ACT Wazalendo, Joram Bashange, against the Attorney General and the National Electoral Commission. Mr. Bashange was challenging the validity of Section 44 of the National Elections Act and Sections 45.5 and 13.7 of the Local Government Elections Act that allow uncontested candidates for the position of Member of Parliament and councillorship to represent the constituency and the ward.
And now bringing us to the end of our top stories, Ghana warns against using banknotes as gift hampers. The Bank of Ghana has warned the public against using local banknotes as bouquets and hampers when gifting people. Banknotes folded into bouquets and hampers are common gifts during weddings, birthdays and other celebrations in the country. But the practice is making it easier for banknotes to spoil or get defaced, said the Director of Currency Department, Dominic Owusu. Desist from such acts. It is not in line with the policy, so you must stop it. If you want to give a present, go and buy gifts, Mr. Owusu said on Thursday. He said spoiled and worn out notes are replaced at a high cost that is affecting operations of the central bank. The bank official also urged the public to preserve the local currency as a symbol of the country. Meanwhile, Mr. Owusu denied reports that the Bank of Ghana was issuing new 500 cedi coins.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, Zimbabwe currently only has one cancer radiotherapy machine. We'll be talking to Talent Gore about that story and more stemming from the House of Stone. Stay with us.
Namibië sonder grense vertel weekliks die stories van Namibiërs wat oor see of elders in die buiteland werk. Die program nooi jou om saam te reis na nuwe bestemmings en meer oor ons mense, hul lewens, talente, sienswyses en Namibië se trotste wêreldwye voetspoor te leer. Volg Namibië sonder grense op Netwerk TV, NTV, oneup2.com en Republikeinse Facebookblad. Namibië sonder grense handel oor uitreik, gesels, reis en wenke en soms toer ons na besienswaardighede in die land waar ons kuier. Kontak grense@synergy.com.na en vertel ons van Namibiërs wat jy oor see ken of om jou reisprodukte te adverteer. Namibië sonder grense, ons land oral in die wêreld.
Now, the government of Zimbabwe has dispatched 300 metric tons of maize meal to Malawi as the neighboring country grapples with the aftermath of Cyclone Freddy disaster. Here to give us more on the story, Talent Gore. Good morning, Talent. Please take it away.
Good morning, Dan, and good morning, Ashwin. So the Zimbabwean government has handed over 300 metric tons of meal to Malawi to assist the country in coping with myth of Cyclone Freddy. Speaking during the handover ceremony at the Grain Marketing Board Depot, Secretary of Foreign Affairs said that Zimbabwe will mobilize more support and aid for Malawi. And also the Zimbabwean government has come up with a disaster relief committee which will help to draw up a comprehensive assistance package for Malawi. The president also held a meeting with captains of industry at State House to facilitate for the mobilization of more resources for the people of Malawi. So people and companies, they are coming up and they are mobilizing resources to help Malawi during this time whereby they have been hit by Cyclone Freddy.
All right. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that story. Now, 2023 Zim general elections are slated to happen between July and August, and this is according to the Minister of Justice. Please tell us about this.
Yes, well, the Minister of Justice, Minister Ziyambi, has revealed that this year's harmonized elections will be held between July 26th and August 26th. He also said that the president is expected to proclaim the election date soon, and the preparatory reports are, however, at an advanced stage. It states that according to the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the president is supposed to proclaim the election date before a week before the expiry of the last election. So in 2018, the elections were held in July on the 18th of July. So the president is supposed to proclaim the election date before the last year election date expires. So he will soon proclaim the election date, and we're just waiting to hear when the next election will be held. But the Minister of Justice has given us a hint as to when the election will be held, which is between July 26th and August 26th, 2023.
All right, now Talent, it is quite concerning that the whole country has only one cancer machine, and even the government has acknowledged that. Why is this, and what are they doing about it?
Yes, for months now, even for years now, citizens have been complaining that at public hospitals there are no radiotherapy machines, there are no cancer machines. So the government last week admitted that Zimbabwe only had one radiotherapy machine, and this was revealed by the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Jasper Chimeza. He said that Zimbabwe has only one functional radiotherapy machine to service all the country's cancer patients, and this machine. He also revealed this when he appeared before the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Health and Child Care, and he also revealed that the machine, the radiotherapy, was privately owned, and most people cannot afford to go to private institutions, so they need the government to come up with funds to procure radiotherapy machines at public hospital. It is the permanent secretary said that it is not an ideal situation whereby we have one working machine in the country. He said we need more cancer machines, and patients should not be traveling long distances to access cancer treatment. So as the ministry, they say that they were now in the process of procuring radiotherapy machines so that they put them in public hospitals. And they also had a vision whereby they want to put other cancer machines at provincial hospitals, which is something that has never been done in Zimbabwe. We only have, before the ones that we had broke down, there were only cancer machines at public hospitals. So now they want to buy cancer machines for provincial hospitals so that people don't have to travel to Harare or Bulawayo for cancer treatment.
All right, very interesting, Talent. I think it's quite abysmal for government not to realize it doesn't have cancer therapy machines until like last week, especially when there's only one in the country. And for the permanent secretary to say it's not an ideal situation is definitely an understatement. It is a horrendous oversight. Thank you very much for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having Talent Gore, just as it's always good to have weather as lovely as Diana's smile. Let's have a look at the predictions. Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. We're going to dive straight into the economic news. Now, the U.S. yesterday launched an $8.4 million project that is aimed at conserving coastal and marine biodiversity. Known as USAID Heshimu Bahari Respect the Ocean, the project will also seek to strengthen the fisheries value chain in Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar. At the official launch of the project in Dar es Salaam yesterday, the U.S. Second Gentleman, Mr. Douglas Emhoff, said the USAID Heshimu Bahari project will also help to reduce the issue of gender-based violence, improve the livelihoods of communities, reduce discrimination against women, and conquer climate change.
Now, Uganda renews a labor export deal with Saudi Arabia. Uganda and Saudi Arabia have renewed a bilateral agreement that allows resumption of labor export to the Gulf country. The agreement was suspended in December last year following an uproar over alleged mistreatment and torture of Ugandan migrant workers. Some Ugandan migrants were reported to have committed suicide over alleged mistreatment in Saudi Arabia. Uganda's Labour Minister Betty Amongi said on Thursday that both governments had agreed to protect the rights of migrant workers. In the new agreement, Saudi Arabia employers will no longer unilaterally deduct salaries, and Ugandan workers will have recourse to competent authorities in cases of contractual disputes. Both countries will also establish a mechanism to resolve issues on the welfare and rights of domestic workers.
All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories on Africa Good Morning. We'll head into the indicators just before we come back and have a chat with Ari Hochad about the latest sports news. So what has happened in the last month? Just generally speaking, the Grammys happened in the last month. Donald Trump got indicted. There were EFF marches. Gold Mafia came out in Al Jazeera documentary in Zimbabwe. And in that entire month, Manchester United did not manage to score a single goal in the English Premier League. Here's Ari Hochad with the rest of the sports news.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and Diana. Yes, best intro ever. And that to confirm that Arsenal is still leading the English Premier League, and it's going to remain a tight race to the end because Manchester City not going away. But what happened over the weekend is Arsenal beat Leeds at home by 4-1. Important win for Arsenal there, maintaining an 8-point lead. But Manchester City do have a game in hand, but all in the hands of Arsenal at the moment. Man City is still there because they had a big win against Liverpool, beating them at home with the same score, 4-1. Other results, it's Newcastle that beat Manchester United, and that was 2-0. So both teams now on 50 league points. That's after 27 games. So the fight for the top four very close, with Tottenham Hotspur also in that fight as well. Chelsea lost to Aston Villa 2-0. Maybe later, in a few weeks' time, the date to remember will be when Manchester City host Arsenal. So they still need to play each other. That will be the big game, probably a decider. That's 4 weeks' time or so that they will play. Moving on to Formula One racing, it was the third one of the season. Very exciting Australian Grand Prix. A few red flags in that race. In the end, it was again Red Bull Honda, Max Verstappen winning. But good news for Mercedes-Benz is that Lewis Hamilton is back big time. He was the second, very competitive throughout the race, and Fernando Alonso third. So Max Verstappen now leading with 69 points in the point standing, with Sergio Perez also for Red Bull 54 points. Lewis Hamilton 38 points at the moment in fourth. On to some rugby news. It was European Championships. It's still funny to talk about the South African teams playing in the European Champions Cup, but that's how it is at the moment. It's Toulouse that yesterday beat the Bulls by 33 points to 9, and they will now host the Sharks. The Sharks, they play in the quarterfinals against Toulouse. That's after they beat Munster by 50 points to 35. Also a good result for the Stormers in Cape Town, beating Harlequins of England 32 points to 28. And that's action from that game. And they will now travel to Exeter Chiefs in England for their quarter final. Also briefly, the Hong Kong Sevens that was played over the weekend, and wins for both New Zealand men and women's team in the Hong Kong Sevens. And moving on to Miami Open, that's a tennis men's winner that happened yesterday as well. Daniel Medvedev, he's the winner. He beat Yannick Sinner of Italy 7-5, 6-3. That's Daniel Medvedev in good form. He will be in good form for the US Open coming up next, the big ones. And in the women's division, it was Petra Kvitova of the Chechnya. She beat Elena Rybakina. She's from Kazakhstan, 7-6, 6-2. It is Petra Kvitova there in the purple on the right. She's the winner. Closing off to some cricket news, and it was a good result for South Africa playing against the Netherlands. They're all in pink in Wanderers for a good cause again. For cancer, and it was the Proteas that 140 runs, or 146 runs they beat the Netherlands, and it was South Africa batting first, 370 for 8, Netherlands 224 all out, Aiden Markram 175, but significantly for South Africa, put them 8 on the log, the one-day log, and if they finish on 8, they qualify automatically for the World Cup, 50-over World Cup in India later this year. It is Ireland that can still knock them out of position number 8 if they beat Bangladesh by 3-0 in that series in May. So that is the cricket news. So good news for South Africa, at least for the time being. That's international sports news for this morning. And Diana, keep on wearing that red dress on Mondays. Man United will turn it around. It will happen soon.
I'm sure they will. And you know what? I will keep proudly wearing red.
It's okay.
All right, we'll take a quick ad break and return with the highlights from today's broadcast.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
You're still with Africa. Good morning. Let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. Food rations for refugees in Burundi to be halved, and this is according to the UN agency. Equatorial Guinea suspends 300 vessels for illegal flag use. US launches $8.4 million biodiversity project in Tanzania.
Those have been our stories. Make sure you don't miss Africa Good Morning throughout the week as we bring you the latest news stemming from the African continent from 7 a.m. with a repeat at 8:30. From Diana Master and Ashwin Berry, Suraj Lakanaka.